All right, welcome to the podcast. Hope you're having a great Monday morning or Monday evening wherever you're at. I wanted to, come on talk about a new topic. Just for those who are just tuning in, this podcast is me talking about my values for my son, things that I believe that are important, and doing it for my kids too, future kids. I think it's really important to remember who you are, what you've been doing, to document it. So you can also see how you improve over time and how things change over time. And I think that's really, really important, especially as you move through life, because life moves really quickly, really, really quickly. So this is motivational memories. I also, it's part of that's kind of evolved out of this is I want to be a light and be somebody that people who do not have a father figure or they do not have a big brother, that's what I am. That's who I am. And I hope that the lessons that I'm imparting here can be that to you. Be a lesson from a big brother to a little brother, a little sister, or a dad that, you just didn't have. I'm a young dad, but I am a dad. And I always, throughout my entire life, has just been about taking care of people and helping. I think that's what fueled my career, fueled my early life choices, and it's who I am as a person. So I wanted to also put that out there. And thank you so much for. I got like 5 followers right now. If this is helpful to you, I really appreciate it if you could follow, like, comment, so that other people that have things that they're missing in their life can find it. And I hope that as I do this, I'm helping build a community of people that will come together and fill holes and gaps in their lives that have been left by people leaving or people not being there. I want to build a community of people that just genuinely helps. And if you are ever in need, you can reach out to me. And I will listen to you and hear you out. Because really, for my basis of Christian beliefs, as well as who I am as a person, I'm here to help. I really am, genuinely. So, all right, let's get into it. So remembering who you are, I think, is something that is really, really critical as you move forward in your career. If you want to be successful, you got to know what your morality is and who you came from. I'm wearing a ring today, little pinky ring. This was my grandfather's ring. He came over from the Philippines. And an interesting story about this particular ring. So my grandparents came over from the Philippines. I'm a second generation Filipino. They came over. It was either the Korean or Vietnam War, one of the two, and I cannot recall. But it was post that conflict. There was not a lot of doctors here in the States, so they opened it up that if you wanted to do your residency here in America, you could move towards citizenship and just more opportunity. And there was a lot of doctors and nurses in the Philippines, and that's part of the reason why the medical community in the United States is filled with so many of us. Is because of that time period. And my grandparents were one of those people to come over. And when they were coming over, they had $500 in the pocket. Now, and I think this is back in the 70s. $500 is a little bit more than it is today. It's still not a lot by any stretch of the imagination. And they were coming over with just that. And my grandfather, I believe it was in Japan on their way over. I believe it was boats that they came over the first time. And they were in a shop, and he saw this ring and he wanted to buy it, and it was like $200 or $300. So it was like almost their entire budget of coming to America. And my grandma was like, no, Ted, you're not doing it. And was vehement against it. But my grandfather, the ever stubborn, but also really kind man, kept that in his mind and was like, okay, I'm not getting it now because, my wife's right and I'm going to listen to her. But he got stubborn about it. And many, many years later, when he was a very, very successful doctor, he bought this particular ring and flaunted in front of my grandma of like, haha, I got my jade ring. And really, I think she was part of the experience and actually gifted it to him a little bit, because something people don't know about Asian culture, you're not supposed to really buy these for yourself. Jade rings or jade in general is supposed to be gifted to you. That's how you get good luck. I don't know if I believe that, but that's kind of the story behind it. Well, I inherited this from my grandfather when he passed, and I put it on, and I remember his struggle, and I remember the volume of hard work that man did to set himself up as well as his grandkids. And granted, I was the firstborn, but it was immensely impactful. I remember sitting around a table, and one of my last memories of my grandfather, and to this day it makes me emotional. His dad was a songwriter and wrote a bunch of songs, and he's sitting there playing his dad's song on his grand piano in this beautiful house in Alabama that he had purchased with my grandmother after their house got wrecked in Hurricane Ivan. And he's just playing, and it's generations removed from me of these songs, and I to this day I still want to go and get that recorded, but that is a part of me. And remembering that struggle and all that difficulty that he went through, it gives me solace and it gives me strength to continue on. Now, you might not have the story in the background of it, or that type of family, but it's really important to remember, what your morals and what your standings are. And I got mine a lot from my grandfather of, work ethic, and a lot of the lessons, Koa, that you're seeing, I got from him. One of his famous sayings was, "Don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff." And I swear he probably got it on a Walmart t-shirt or whatever, but he preached it because I think he really truly believed it, that your emotions are going to be whatever you make them out to be. If you want to have anxiety about a bunch of stuff, and you want to have challenges, and you can make anything and have anxiety about anything. It's really up to you if you want to make it a big thing or not. Or if you want to go, man, not really that important, let's move on. Let me move on to things that are actually important. So those are some really critical things. But, remembering who you are and where you come from, I think is a big part of it. But it's also remembering what your moralities are, what you stand for. So if you don't come from a family, and again, this isn't from you, but for all the other people that are listening, if you do come from a family that didn't have a great background or didn't have it, there was always somebody in the family that changed that. And they did it because they created the morality and the standards that made them successful. So if you don't come from a successful background, or your parents were really poor, my grandfather, yes, he went to medical school and did all that, but he came from third world country, southern portion of the Philippines, which, for those that don't know, that's like the not great, the part of the Philippines that doesn't have a ton of money. So the struggles down there are even more challenging than you would have even in the Philippines as a whole. It's come a long way since when my grandfather was down there, for sure, and I am actively working on trying to make it even better. And I think I'm a testament to it, and a lot of people that I know that are Filipino are a testament to the work ethic and the drive that Filipinos have. That's part of where I came from and where my grandfather came from. But at the end of the day, it's who you are made of and what your morality and what your stands for. So, son, eventually you're going to get this ring from me. Know that there's a really important story behind it of perseverance, consistency, but having a vision of something very specific. And this is, I wouldn't say this is a really expensive ring, but it's meaningful and something I was thinking about today. And I think why I work as hard as I do. And it is currently 2:10 in the morning. I have already worked on proposals. I've worked on a lot of stuff today, and I've done this for years. And it's because I have a vision of where I want to go and a vision of the life that I want to provide for you, son. And that's what is fueling me. But it's a very specific and a very driven dream. And I think that's what, but it's also driven a little bit by emotion, and it's driven by nostalgia for me. I want a big house, not to say, man, look at the house I got. It's so that I can fill the entire house with my family. And some of the best memories I have were going to my grandfather and grandmother's house in Alabama, going to the house in Pensacola, and we would be standing around. All the cousins are there. All my siblings are there. When my parents weren't divorced, my mom and dad were there. And everyone's just laughing and having a good time and eating. And at the center of all, I was very close to my grandfather, and it still kills me because he hasn't, you didn't get to meet him, Koa, but you'll meet him eventually in heaven because, I really believe that he was saved, and we'll see him again in paradise. But I would sit next to him, and everyone else, he would drag people into stories. And I secretly, I would make the feint of like, hey, I'm saving you. And I'd come up to whoever was his latest victim, because he could talk for hours, just hours. And I'd come up and be like, oh, Grandpa. And I would start asking him some questions. And, I already knew the pattern of the stories, and I already knew the stories were in a circular pattern. My little secret, though, was I loved it. I really wanted to hear, and I really wanted to learn, and I really wanted to know where he came from, because I saw how far he came. And also, I wanted to propel me forward and his journey to kind of become my journey into where I could grow and to become. And I would sit there and I would listen to him for hours and hours and hours. And I would hear the moral basis of the story. And a lot of it was hard work. A lot of it was work ethic. But he also had a list of things that were important to him. And it rings out in my ears constantly. So God, family, honor, duty, and country. Those were in his order, what the most important to least important. And he was a God, family, honor, duty, and country. And for the longest time, I thought it was Judy, like Judge Judy. And I realized, oh no, my grandfather just has broken English and it's duty. Besides the point, but that is what formed me and shaped me. And I think, if you don't have these moral stances, I hope that you can look at my example. And I part own several companies. I just thankfully, we're getting the paperwork drawn up now to close on another deal. And, down the road, I think it could definitely be 6-figure, 7-figure payouts. And I think a lot of hard work's gone into it, and extremely hopeful, but also like doubtfully optimistic, I'll say. But, look at my success. Look at the things that I've done. I'm a 30-year-old C-suite executive at logistics companies and technology companies and oil and gas. And know that it's not a big deal. It's not a break. It's not. And by the way, I took, and when I say took, I think my grandparents gifted me maybe $5,000, and they paid for 1 semester of housing. But for college, for everything else, I paid for it. My grandparents helped me get a loan for my car, but I paid off the loan in full. They didn't pay for that. And you just know, even though I came from, people that had more money, I didn't take it. And I didn't build anything with their money. I'm doing it with my money and my hard work. So know that you can do it too. The biggest gap between you and me and Koa is taking lessons like this in and making them real and actually executing on it, actually doing it. Not just talking about doing it, not thinking about doing it, freaking doing it, moving forward, and making these truths your own and centering them. So remembering what you stand for, remembering every single day, no matter how tough it is, no matter how much anxiety you get, God's got your back. God's got you. Family's more important than money and more important than houses, anything like that. And so long as I can make sure my family is fed and they got a roof over their head, I will praise God and you know what? Even if there's more struggles down the road, I will constantly praise God. God, family, duty. And duty means, making sure that you are doing your responsibilities. And I think that kind of blends into family, but it's making sure you're doing what's right, even when no one else is watching. That's what integrity is. And I think that's the missing piece that a lot of people do. Nowadays, social media, everyone's so fake. It's all fake. It's all fugazi. It's all glitz, glamour, whatever. Be real. Be genuine. Because that's more important. That's more important than getting wealthy. It's more important than anything. Being genuine. Because you know what? You can sleep at night. You can think about what you've done, and you can genuinely look yourself in the eye and be like, I really did it. I really did that. And there's no in between. So I think that's what duty is, and that's what kind of duty is to me. And then honor, man, you honor yourself, you honor your family, you honor your name, the name that you come from. And if you are thinking about, and you also honor Jesus and you honor God. If you're going to go do something, and this is a really solid litmus test, and you think, does this honor God? Does this honor me? Does this honor my family? Would I be ashamed if someone knew what I was saying or what I was doing? And if you can honestly say, no, I don't think anyone would, I wouldn't be ashamed if anyone knew this, then you were doing an honorable thing. Again, that's not always true, but that's a litmus test, right? And making sure that you're doing what's right. And that's really the end all be all. Now, right is subjective. I would argue try to do the moral thing. Try to do the thing that helps the most people. Try to do the thing that in the long run is going to make it long-term successful. Don't play for the short. Don't play for the little bit of likes or whatever. Play to what is really going to help people. Play the long game. And if you're doing that and you're genuinely trying to help people, I think you will find success. I think you will. And I think for me, success is defined as helping one person. If I do this entire podcast and I spend hours on this thing, and one person goes to church or thinks about, maybe I should get back in church, or maybe I should love God more. Or if you start thinking, or if one person thinks, man, I should do better. Man, I should apply myself and try to change my life. If I can help one person, then this is all worth it. It really is. Because what am I giving up? A little bit of time, and I could potentially help somebody? Yeah, I'm going to take that 9 times out of 10. Give you the shirt off my back. Because that's what God has called me to do. Help people. And then last one is country. And I think right now it's really challenging in the States. We're divided right down the middle. Democrats and Republicans. I think I'm more right-leaning, if you can tell by that. And again, anyone who's in business and knows numbers and can do math, you're probably more fiscally responsible anymore, and you're probably more fiscally right. If you're not an idealist. And I think that's the struggle that I have personally, is on both sides. People are idealists, or they think, man, this is what's going to happen. Excuse me. this is what's going to happen in a vacuum. This is what's perfect. Yeah, I would love utopia, but people suck. People suck. Utopia is impossible. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen till Jesus comes back on the second coming. It's not happening before that. And I think what we all need to do, and I pray and hope that friends that I have on the other side, the Democrat side, will come to the conclusion that America is great and there's a reason why people flock to this country for opportunity. And I think we need to love and protect this country with everything that we have in it, because if we do not, it's going to get really bad. And we need to remember who we are as a nation. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And liberty, justice for all means freedom to do what you want to do, so long as you're not harming others, and to make sure that you are not forcing your ideals on others because you have the freedom of choice. So should everyone else, and everyone else should be able to say no or say stop without you villainizing or vilifying them. And I think that is the biggest struggle that I have right now, and on both sides, is we don't love our country like we used to. And it's a dang shame. It really is. I served my country. I wish I did more. But unfortunately, Koa, I met your mom, and she had other plans, got out other plans, so I did not serve the 20 years that I wanted to. I wish I had done more. I really do. I wish I could have helped more people in that regard. But at the root of that too, it's part of who I am and what I remember, and having discipline. That is something that is part of me, and that's something that I try to remember on a regular basis. But this graphic of remember who you are, Mufasa from The Lion King, it's really about tying emotions to your vision and tying nostalgia to your person, and taking values from the past and applying it to yourself. Who you are is present, is right now. And I think remembering who you are and making sure and doing a diagnostic every now and then of what are my values, have my values changed, am I staying on with the values that actually matter? And I think if we sit back and examine it, sometimes we get astray. Sometimes we get skewed off of like, man, what is important? I do it all the time. I like having money. I love eating out at really nice restaurants. That is what I love to do. I work really hard to go and take my wife, my lovely wife, out to a really, really nice dinner. That's what I really love. I enjoy that. I love it when I'm at a really, really nice dinner with a bunch of family and friends. And we're sitting around and we're chatting, and we're having a great time, and we're laughing, and we're eating, and we're drinking, and that to me is the best. That is the epitome of my life. I enjoy it so much, and I am willing to work really hard to make that happen. But at the end of the day, money doesn't matter. I could do that at Baskin Robbins. We could do that at Little Caesars, Walmart. I just really, really like a good steak and a good old fashioned. But besides that point, in that, the fine dining isn't what's important. It's the people that you've dined with. That's what's important. That's what you remember. And I remember that, again, from my time spent with my grandfather. And his focus was getting us all together. Now, I've left Pensacola for a bit, and I think probably we're never going to move back. We moved to Tampa permanently. But I'm constantly trying to recruit and get my siblings to move down here, because I think, family is important. And I'm trying to build kind of the next generation of Honkos and, my Caitlin's cousins, your mom's cousins, down here. And I think that's, again, I'm trying to re-spark that. But it is challenging to say the least. So, yeah. At the end of the day, Remember who you are. Make sure your values are aligned with what you are trying to accomplish. And you'll make it happen. But this is the alignment piece and the focusing piece that a lot of people miss on their road to success. And once you are successful, you really need to remember who you are, because money corrupts. And if you are not really focused and really strategic on how you treat people and what your moral stance is, it is really, really easy to get off that path and to go down that rabbit hole and to forget why you did it and who you are in that. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this short podcast. I'm trying to do some more long form and maybe do like an hour type session. If there is a topic that you want me to breach, please leave a comment below. If you need help, shoot me a direct message, comment, and I will comment back, and we can exchange information. I'm here to help you. If you need any advice, let me be your Christian conservative big brother and dad to help you guide you through life. So far, it's worked out pretty well for me, and I think it will work out for you. So I hope you have success in life and in business. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.